Welcome, everybody. Happy holidays. We're celebrating Passover. We're celebrating Easter. I'm here to record a Good Friday video with my good friend Ian. Ian, how are you?
All good today. Thanks, Brian.
Good. Now, let's get this show on the road, buddy.
Tottenham on tour.
All right. So, as you saw from the opening title a few hours ago, Spurs made an official announcement. I'm going to read the statement for you, and then we'll get into and we'll have a little conversation on this. So Scott Munn is now our chief, or going to be our chief football officer. And the statement from the club, which was released at 1:30, said, "We are delighted to announce the appointment of Scott Munn as chief football officer. Scott will be joining the club's board and will be taking charge of all footballing departments. As referenced in the chairman's statement, financial results 21-22, 10th of February 2023, there has been an ongoing review over the past 6 months of all our footballing activities. Changes have been made and further improvements continue to ensure future progress and competitiveness. Scott, former City Football Group executive, has extensive experience within sporting organisations and has started his career with the Sydney Organising Committee for the 2000 Olympic Games, and then transitioning into the National Rugby League before joining the Australia Football League. Scott joined Melbourne City FC as the Chief Executive Officer in 2010. In 2019, he was appointed Chief Executive Officer of the City Football Group China. Daniel Levy, chairman, said, Scott has a unique and broad experience of running sporting organisations at the highest level and will take responsibility for the leadership and management of our football activities to instill best practice both on and off the pitch." Ian, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, right. First point. Is it Melbourne City or Man City? That's not clear. Is experience at the highest level? If it's Man City, okay. If it's Melbourne City, well, you've got to question that.
Yep.
What did he do at Melbourne City? That's the question. What's he going to add? Apart from shielding Daniel Levy, what's he going to add to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club? That's the interesting part, and that I think the club needs to explain to the fans exactly what his remit is. There must be a fixed remit. What's he going to do? You know, if it's just going to be to again shield Levy, then what's the point? If Levy's going to make the final decision, if he's not going to be taking any notice of any recommendations, then what is the point? The other thing also is that the guy obviously is not working in terms like a director of football. It's obviously it's a board level thing. Maybe it's strategy. Does he understand Tottenham's DNA? Does he understand what Spurs are all about? That's the first part. Once he understands what we're about, and it probably would have been easier if Levy had found someone a little bit closer to home than Australia or China.
Yeah.
But for me, that's been the problem. There's been no strategy at Tottenham. Now, if this guy is going to bring in a proper strategy for the club and lay it out for the next few years, then this is a good thing, because at least you've got somebody who's worked in football and understands the sport.
Yep, I mean, you've got that. I mean, the thing I find, listen, I agree with you. If it's someone that will actually get given the power and authority to do what he needs to do on the footballing side, then, like you said, it may not have been big enough teams, but we'll see what this guy can do. But we've heard this before, haven't we? When we said all footballing decisions, we've heard this with Paratici, haven't we?
Well, the big question is, if Paratici comes back, or they bring someone else in, or they use the guys who are standing in for Paratici, whoever they use for the summer for transfers, if they go to Munn and say, look, we've identified him, he's going to cost 60 million, is Levy going to listen to Munn? If Munn goes back and says, look, this is key, this is part of the team building for the new manager, whoever that will be.
Yep.
We need to buy this player. He's going to be the cornerstone of the defence, and boy, we need some defenders. What's Levy going to do? And that's going to be crunch time. And at that point, Scott Munn will know whether he's got a job that Levy respects and will let him run with, or whether, again, he's just another layer between the football team and Levy.
Yep. And do you think this guy will have a big influence in who the next manager is going to be? Because that's going to be his first numero uno job, isn't it?
Whew. Well, if you're working in Australia or China, it sort of puts you in a slight disadvantage. You know, if he'd been working in Europe and he knows what's going on here, then that would help. But I'm not sure he can. Not sure he can.
Exactly. So yeah, that's got Munn done. Now, the next thing we're going to discuss, obviously you know it because I've sent it to you, and I sent it to you last night, not knowing we were recording this. But people are going to wonder why I've brought these two people up. And I'm talking about Philip Coutinho, obviously, and the ex-Crystal Palace, and funnily enough, Australian football captain and Palace captain, Mike Jedinak. These are their words, not mine. So I have someone who whose kids go to the same school as both these people, or at least Coutinho. I'm not too sure the link with Jedinak, but I think he's got something to do with Villa now. So he sent me this. And I'm gonna read this out because this is what came out, and this is just goes to show what we have to deal with when it comes to transfer times. So he put, a few times a month, I have the pleasure of chatting to Philip Coutinho and others involved with Villa. About a month ago, I asked him directly if we were ever interested in signing him. After some hesitation, he explained that we did indeed approach him when he was at Bayern. His agent clearly stated that Spurs often approach very strongly initially, but the time of things changes drastically in subsequent meetings. Coutinho's agent warned him that this was going to happen. He should walk away quickly as it often becomes arduous, unpredictable, and all-round difficult. Mr. Coutinho's agent said this to him because he's dealt with the club before and was told the board at THFC are notorious for this. Sure enough, this did indeed happen as expected, and the rest is history. 2 weeks ago, I had a chat with Mike Jedinak, and we talked about academy football. He stated that at most age groups, when most teams, not only Villa play Spurs, they often play their weaker players and players that are younger than the given age group due to the weakness of our academy at most levels. Just some insights from the ex-captain of Australia and a Champions League winner, which makes you think how awful the month of January must have been for Pedro Porro. So, Coutinho and Jedinak have spoken to this guy. I mean, what do you make of that, Ian?
Okay. Let's hope this Scott Munn takes over transfer negotiations. That's all I can say, because it's been disastrous. I mean, the transfer dealings through the years, and you look at the players that we've missed that we could have had, like Mane, Wijnaldum, Hazard, Bruno Fernandes, Ruben Diaz, etc., and Jack Grealish.
Yep.
And it's a question of what might have been. You know, Mane would have come had negotiations gone correctly at the beginning of the 16-17 season. This is just one example. Spurs lost to Chelsea by 7 points. They hit 86 points that year. It was the best ever season in the Premier League. And would Mane have made that difference? Would he have put 8 points on? Quite possibly. And that just shows you we were just possibly that one transfer away from winning the league for the first time since 1961. So you've got to hope that Munn gets involved in transfer negotiations. You've got to keep Levy away from it. You just got to keep it away from it. Unfortunately, with him, everything is it's like a war. It's a battle. Each transfer is a battle, and he wants what he wants in terms of selling, and that's possibly why we've got so many players. We've got a bloated squad. So many players out on loan.
Yep.
So if this guy's coming in and he's going to deal with transfers, then that's a positive.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, also, the youth academy from Jedinak, when he's talking about that, I mean, we know, and you and me speak very regularly via whatever platform. we do have some stars in that youth academy that are trying to break through and have the potential in Mundell, in Divine. And then, I mean, it's just another damning thing to hear, isn't it, about the club?
Well, that was then. Hopefully today things are a lot better. So on that, you tend to think, well, when did he have this conversation with Jedinek?
This is in the past couple of months.
Okay, all right. Well, that was then. Things that I believe are improving. Results are improving now. So let's hope we're on the way back up in terms of the academy.
We've got to hope so. I mean, you said Jack Grealish is the one that obviously everyone really, really goes on about. But for me, I remember, I don't know if you heard this story as well, Ian, that when Poch first came in, the first player he wanted was Morgan Schneiderlin. He wanted Morgan Schneiderlin. He said, listen, I've worked with this guy. I know him. I need him in this position. He does the job for me. All right, he didn't do well at United or whatever, but who knows what would have happened at Poch, at Tottenham. And he kept saying, I want Schneiderlin. And obviously he's heard I need a defensive midfielder. I need a combative midfielder. And his alternative was Benjamin Stambouli.
Well, but a couple of years later, he had Dembele and Dyer, and then Dembele and Wanyama.
Dembele and Wanyama was the best. I loved Wanyama.
So it was terrific. I do think that for that 1 year, which was 15, 16, I thought Dyer had a terrific season. He was very quick around the park. He made tackles. He didn't stand off like he does now.
Yep.
And so. But you mentioned Stambouli again. This is just typical of Tottenham's transfer policy. Everything's cheap. Everything's a deal. They will only invest up to a certain points that they are comfortable with. Not what is needed, and that's why in my opinion, people can point to decisions like Vorm in goal and letting the goal in against United at Wembley. Some playing left wing back against Chelsea at Wembley. But by and large, the bigger picture is that if you have better players, then you end up winning these games.
Correct. And I have to agree with you, Ian, that I thought Eric Dyer in that defensive midfield that season was his greatest season. I think he was superb in that position. And when it comes to Wanyama, in that season that we finished second, I've said it many a time. For me, Wanyama, for me, was our player of the season that season. Forget Kane getting all those goals. I thought he was an absolute colossal.
Yeah.
He really was. But we're gonna move on to the next subject now. Now, I'm one of these superstitious people, and I was talking to my friend back in Toronto today, and he's a bus driver, Bobby Kay, who's on the Three Spurs Boys. And on Good Friday, I spent the day with him going on the buses last year because he's a bus driver. I went with him on his route to keep him busy and keep him occupied and have some fun with him. And we got up very, very early the next Saturday to watch a game of football on Easter Saturday. And that team just happened to be the 1-0 defeat to Brighton at home last season, where obviously Basuma can't do it to us. But here we go again. Easter Saturday, Brighton. So,
okay. Well, you've got our team that's out of form playing against an informed team.
They're incredible this season, aren't they? They really are.
We got 6 players missing. They're probably virtually at full strength.
Yep.
So you'd have to think that Brighton are favourites.
Yeah. I think we're going to get taught a lesson, in all honesty, and I really do, and I know the crowd will get or do what it does. But yeah, this is a very daunting game, especially with the points. I mean, what is it? They go 1 point behind us with 2 games in hand if they win.
Yeah.
It's frightening because whereas I can't see where we're picking up 3 points, I can't see where they're losing.
Oof. It's going to be a hard game. It's going to be difficult. They're not going to change the system. We know that.
Yep.
I haven't got that many players to pick from. You've maybe got 14 tops, maybe 15 that you could actually start with.
Yep.
You go through the defence. I mean, I would have started. I would have kept Forster in. I think that was a mistake putting Lloris back, and you could see there was fear across the back three when Lloris is on the ball.
Oh.
It's a nightmare. I would have kept Forster in. He was much more competent. His kicking was better.
Yep.
Kicked well with both feet. but he'll start with Lloris. Your back three, Romero, Dyer, Longley. They are the only. Well, who else do you play? Who else do you play? You're not going to play Sanchez.
Please God no. Please God no.
Unfortunately, Tanganga comes in after several months out because he's rusty. Doesn't give a good account of himself. I think he's unlucky because he needs a run of several games.
Correct.
Davis is injured. There's no one else left. So your back three picks itself. Midfield, you're going to start with Porro, and I would think he'll keep Perisic in.
Got no choice, really, has he?
No, not really. He doesn't. Midfield, he'll keep Højbjerg in because he's very risk averse. I would probably play Sarr in front of either of them. To be fair,
yeah, I'm with you. Totally with you.
I'd give, or to be quite honest, maybe I'd play three in midfield. But then are you becoming too defensive? As you know, you're at home. You need the 3 points. Up front, what would I do? I'd start with Danjuma instead of Son. I would probably play Danjuma and Kane to start and play three in the middle.
Well, this is the thing. What you got to look at.
You can always bring Son and Kulu on.
So what you got to look at is: do we go three at the back at home when we need to win? That's one talking point.
They're not going to change it, Brian, are they?
No, this is the thing. It's that's why when you say three in midfield, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing that. But what we've got to remember now is we can't afford to get a central midfielder injured in case we're screwed. So,
well, you can always bring Devine in, but these kids have got to be thrown in at some time, Brian.
Listen, I would never, ever, I would love to see, I am Alfie Devine's #1 fan. I've been harping on about this kid for years. I would do anything to see Alfie Devine get some minutes, and if that happened. But like you said, them not changing the defence, I can't. This is the thing. We're talking about Stellini quickly, and I really thought going into Monday, listen, we knew it was going to be the same kind of person, whatever. But you thought this time, right, it's his blueprint, it's his job. He's got no one to answer to. So if he does want to change it up, whether it be the style of play, the formation, the substitute, everything was Conte, wasn't it?
It was, but I think you've got to remember, Conte and Mourinho played the same way, and they both had the same problem. They had defenders who can't defend, and I take Romero out of that because for me, he's the only defender we've got that's quality.
Yep. The
rest of them, I mean, Dyer and Davies should probably keep us back up. The rest, all the others, you get rid of. So, and for me, you need two centre backs to come in the summer. But we've let in 40 goals with three at the back. What would it be like with two at the back?
So who would you even play as a two? If you had to play a two in, who would you be? Obviously Romero, and
if you played a two, what would I do? You play Romero. Crikey, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, who would you play? If you ideally you play Longley because he's left-footed.
Yeah.
But then you lose Dyer's height, and who would play left back?
Yeah.
And you haven't got a left back, have you?
I think the only thing you could do is Emerson's out for. So you haven't even got that option, have you? You haven't even got the option.
You haven't got that. I mean, on Monday night, what would I have done? If you're taking Longley off, which I'm not sure I would have done, then I would have played Dyer on the left and brought Sanchez into the middle, because at least Dyer can keep with his left foot and Sanchez can't. Yeah. You can see that he's uncomfortable with the ball. He's like Bambi on ice, isn't he, Sanchez? Yeah. But to put him on the left, put a right-footed Sanchez on the left-hand side of the defence, I thought was just a disastrous decision.
Yeah,
so the problem is we're short of options because of the injuries.
100%. And I'm with you with Danjuma. I mean, this guy, seriously, what has this guy got to do to get some minutes?
I don't know. And you listened to Stellini's press conference yesterday, and it's like, well, we got three good strikers. Hang on a second. Son and Kulusevski have not been on form for a long time. Son all season, I mean, what's he scored? 6 or 6 goals, I think, 6 or 7 goals.
Something like that.
And he's been poor. His touch is poor. Whether it's because of tactics, whether Perisic has been pushing on past him and taking his space, I don't know. But something's gone very badly wrong with Son this season. Hopefully next year he'll pick it up again and he'll look back and it'll be one bad season.
Yeah.
but they've got problems all over the pitch, Spurs. And you're right. I'd bring Dan Juma in. You have got nothing to lose. Son and Kula are not on form. Bring them on as impact subs and play 3 across the middle. Make sure that you stay in the game. You can always bring on strikers and push for the win, maybe on 50 or 60 minutes.
Well, let's hope so. Ian, what's your score prediction?
Tomorrow, 2-1 Brighton, unfortunately. And I always hate to predict against Spurs because I love the club, but I just can't see us getting anything.
Well, this is the thing, and what's happened is, for me, it's got to the point now. Obviously, when I go on all these channels, you go, and I've had so much time where I've gone in and said, "Oh yes, now's the strongest time. We're the best time to play. It's they're they're at time where they're at their weak," and trying to find a positive. I'm just not setting myself up for the fall anymore.
No, you can't.
I'm not saying we're going to go win this when I just don't think that we have a chance of winning it. And mate, 2-1. I think the way they're playing, especially that forward Ferguson, they've got a real talent on their hand there. They really do. Again, identifying talent from afar. Brighton, another team that seems to do it, and I'm with you, Ian. I think they're going to be all over. I think this is going to be a defeat. But now, final thing we're going to talk about now. I've got that head in there, and I'm going to just very quickly, for a few seconds, keep the new revised photo up. Actually, let me get rid of the banner so you can see it all. So, this is all over a lot of people's social media that I posted today and asked loads of people to share. We freshened up the logo or everything to make it look more professional. Now, with everything that's been going, the last one I went to, or was the last home game, which was Nottingham Forest. And since then, we've sacked our manager. Conte had his outburst to get sacked. Our director of football has got his worldwide ban stretched to 2 years. He's now taken a step back, and we all know everything that is going on right now. It is just too much going on. So more than ever, tomorrow we get there at 11 o'clock. Now, when I say it starts at 11 o'clock, we get there and start putting the banners up. And the reason we say 11 o'clock it starts is because if we say 1 o'clock and people are running late, you get there at 2:15 and we're packing up. So it is going on, and it is going ahead, as is every home game. And Ian, I've seen you obviously at City, and I think, did I see you at Forest, or were you already in the stadium? I can't remember. I had to start off early, but we hopefully the numbers will be there this time. What do you reckon?
I hope so. It's what you hope for is that it excel ultimately. Yep. They've made a lot of money. They've used the club as a great platform to make a fortune, and they're not into football the way that a lot of the other owners are. So for me, now is a good time for them to sell. You've got Newcastle coming through. Liverpool and Chelsea will reboot. United will only get stronger under Ten Hag. City, Arsenal, who have done things the right way, back to manager, got rid of the players they don't need, even taking a big loss, which are all things that Levy wouldn't dream of doing.
Yep.
Having said that, he was put in a position with Doherty, so he had to, but wouldn't have done that under normal circumstances. And I think now's the time. If ENIC are clever, take the money and run and go. And if this guy, this Iranian American, can't think of his name, but if this is the guy that was the press were talking about, speculating about a few weeks ago, comes in with an offer, and it's a good offer, probably won't be what Lewis wants and Levy wants, then let them take it and go.
Well, this is what we...
It's long enough now. It's they've milked the club, they've built it up. It's all been about infrastructure and property. They've never gone the whole hog in terms of the football side. They'll go 60-70%, but they'll never commit. They told us when money was being put aside for the build of the new grounds, that it would never affect transfers. Well, it did. What did we have? 15 months, 16 months without without a transfer, which ultimately long term has killed the club.
Yep.
It's, wouldn't say killed, but it's really affected it. And and we're on a downer now. It's been poor all season, and I just think it's time. It's now time for Enid to sell. Take the profit, guys, and go, and let people in who have an empathy with football. That love, that want success. I remember seeing Abramovich that when Chelsea won the European Cup in 2012 against Bayern Munich, the cameras focused on Abramovich about 30 seconds after the final whistle, and the guy's smile was the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life. And he loved Chelsea. He wanted success. For him, that's what he craved every season. And
even a goal, he would get up and celebrate and show some form of emotion.
Yeah, and I think that is what we want. An owner, we want the chairman who wants success the way Abramovich wanted success for Chelsea, and we haven't had it. We haven't had it since Irving Scholar, unfortunately, had to leave the club, sell the club in what was it, 1991 to Sugar.
Yep.
We've not had somebody with that love of the club. And I'm not saying you're going to get somebody with a love of the club, but like Irving Scholar. But what you do want is somebody who is going to just really embrace the football side, keep things steady, carry on with the business model with all the other outside activities. Make sure you've got one bank account that is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club that involves all the other activities. Not saying that it goes elsewhere. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm told there are 13, 14 different companies affiliated to Enid. Why not have one? Yep. Just one bank, one business. For the go-karting, for the NFL, for everything. It's in essence, people used to say football grounds only get used 25 times a year.
Yep. But now, obviously, something completely different. It is something completely different. And I think Ian has frozen. So whilst I think Ian has frozen, are you back? No, it looks like he has frozen. Whilst I'm waiting for Ian to come back, what I will say, like we said, we all want a successful Tottenham now. Social media is ablaze. And I've been very, very active in it, and I do what I do, and I stand by what I do. Now, we have come to the part where Twitter is ablaze with talk and leave you out. Tottenham official, every time they tweet, come up with something, it gets knocked down with leave you out, and all other kinds of things that are anti-Levy and anti-Enoch. Well, now is the time. Now is the time to come and have your say. If you're going to the ground, please, pretty please, come to the protest. At whatever time you get there, stay as long as you want. We'd love you to stay for as long as possible, but understand people want to go and have a pint or want to get into the ground. Get all that. But come over. You have your time. You have your moment. Let's just not talk a good game on Twitter. Let's show people that this is no longer going to be tolerated. Again, I'm going to show you this. Let me get rid of the banner again. Let me just do this 1 second. As I get rid of the banner once again. Come along and support Enoch Out, the Levy Out cause. Opposite the club shop. On the high road. Everyone knows where we are. We'll be there from 11. Remember the famous quote by Levy, there is no passion here in football. This is purely financial. We choose football because it's the biggest money spinner. 22 years, 1 trophy, 0 accountability. I want to say a big thank you to the person that made this who wishes to remain anonymous. but reached out to me yesterday. I was actually with a mate watching the England women versus Brazil women. And he sent it to me saying, I can't get to the protest, but here's my part where I can help. People that can't get there, that live abroad or too far or family commitments, whatever, just keep retweeting anything you see Levy out, Enoch out. We'll be there. Let's hope people turn up in their numbers this time, because we know the numbers haven't been good. People make up a load of crap numbers compared to the real, or take photos at 11 a.m. when we're setting up and going, oh, look how many people are there at 11 a.m. Well done for taking that initiative and posting a picture at 11 a.m. when there's going to be hardly anyone there. There have been numbers. We do want more. We need more. If you are not happy with the way this club is being run, now is the time to take some action. And before I close off, I just want to say thank you to Ian, because Ian's a superb guest. Here is Ian's Twitter handle. A great guy. History and knowledge of Tottenham like you never know. Just a wonderful human being. Everyone go and give him a follow, because he is well worth the follow. And all I can say, guys, is we will see what tomorrow brings. We shall see what tomorrow brings. Put all your comments down on what we've discussed. Brighton pre-match, the protest, Scott Munn, Jedinak and Coutinho talks. Their words, not mine. So like, comment, subscribe. And as always, Levy out. Tottenham Tour. Tottenham Tour.